All right, let's jump right in. We're going to talk about something that might sound a little dry, records management. But I promise you, this isn't about dusty file cabinets. It's really a survival guide for the absolute chaos of our digital world. We're going to talk about how you can tame that information beast before it ends up taming you. You know the feeling, right? That cold sweat moment when you realize a critical report, maybe a signed contract, has just vanished. Poof, gone into the digital void. We have all been there, and that exact feeling of panic is the problem we are here to solve today. So, what's the real cost of all this chaos? Well, first off, it's just wasted time. So much wasted time. Think about all the hours your team burns just hunting for documents. They're not innovating, they're not selling, they're just searching. It's a total productivity killer.
But it gets so much worse than just a few lost hours. When that data is gone for good, you're not just losing a file, you're losing company history, you're losing client knowledge, maybe even priceless intellectual property. That is a truly catastrophic risk for any business.
And if all that wasn't enough to worry about, then there are the legal consequences. In today's world, everything is regulated, and messing up your records can lead to some seriously painful financial penalties and absolute legal nightmares. The stakes are just incredibly high.
I really love this quote because it just hits the nail on the head. This isn't just about tidying up your server. It's about preserving your organization's memory, its brain. Without that memory, you're basically flying blind, just guessing your way through every single day.
So, how do we get out of this mess? How do we go from total chaos to being in control? Well, it all starts with a blueprint. That's what we're covering in our first section, the foundational strategy that's known as an information governance framework. Now, don't let the fancy name scare you. This isn't some dusty binder sitting on a shelf. Think of it more like the constitution for all of your data. It is the big picture game plan that sets the rules for every piece of information you have, making sure that data works for you and not against you. And this is where that big framework gets real. A good, solid policy needs these 4 legs to stand on. You've got to define what counts as a record, assign who is responsible for it, lay out the exact steps for how to manage it, and finally train everybody so they're on the same page. If you're missing even one of those pieces, the whole thing just falls apart. Okay, so we've got our blueprint. Now we need the right tools for the job. In this next section, we're going to explore the tools and the concepts you absolutely have to manage the wild, diverse information landscape of today. You know, handling a paper contract in a filing cabinet, it's a whole different ballgame from managing a PDF on a server. Physical paper degrades, sure, but a digital file can be copied, edited, and forwarded in a split second. That creates a version control nightmare. So each type of record needs its own unique strategy for how you manage it and eventually get rid of it. So how do we bridge that gap between physical and digital? Through this process right here. But look, it's not just about hitting scan. The real magic, the part that makes it all worthwhile, is step 3, indexing with metadata. Metadata is just a fancy word for digital labels. Who created it? What's it about? What's the date? Without those labels, you haven't organized anything. You've just created a digital junk drawer. And here's something that trips a lot of people up. The definition of a record has totally exploded. That decision a client made over email? Yep, that's a record. A public statement your company made on social media? You better believe that's a record. And all those files just floating around in the cloud? You guessed it. They are all official records that you have to manage. Okay, we have a plan, we have the right tools. So what's next? Protection. This section is all about guarding your information, your digital vault through its entire life, from the second it's born to the moment it's safely destroyed. Every single record has a life story, and a good system maps out that journey. It starts at creation, it lives through its active, useful phase, then it gets moved to a secure archive when you don't need it every day, and finally it reaches its scheduled end of life or disposition. Managing this whole life cycle is what stops you from becoming a digital hoarder, which, believe me, is a huge legal risk. And throughout that life, these security measures are completely non-negotiable. We're talking about secure storage, obviously, but also really tight access controls, so only the right people can see the right information. You need an audit trail that tracks who touched what and when, and you have to have a special plan for your vital records, the stuff that, if it vanished, your business would literally stop. And listen, when a record's life is over, you can't just drag it to the recycle bin.
Proper data destruction, or sanitization, means you are making it absolutely, positively, 100% unrecoverable. This isn't about being tidy. It is about making sure old, sensitive information never, ever falls into the wrong hands.
And that brings us to our final section. And honestly, this is where things get really serious. We are now stepping into the high-stakes world of legal compliance and risk management. And in this world, good records management is your absolute best defense. Let me just say that again because it's so important. When it comes to the law, ignorance is not a defense. You can't just say you didn't know you were supposed to keep something, or that you accidentally deleted a file that's relevant to a lawsuit. The law just assumes you know, and the penalties for getting it wrong can be devastating.
Now, this is one of the most critical ideas in this whole space. The moment you even get a whiff of potential litigation, you have to put a legal hold in place. This immediately freezes everything. It overrides all your normal destruction schedules and preserves any information that could possibly be relevant. If you fail to do this, you could lose your case before it even starts.
And the legal landscape you have to navigate is just massive. We're talking about privacy laws like GDPR, requests under the Freedom of Information Act, protecting your patents and trademarks, managing contracts from start to finish, and a solid records management program is the essential backbone for all of it. At the end of the day, this is the whole point. This is the big mindset shift. When you get this right, you stop looking at your records as a basement full of potential legal bombs. Instead, they become this powerful, searchable, strategic asset that can actually help you make smarter business decisions and protect your organization. So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. Your organization's memory, all its knowledge, its history, its big decisions, it is without a doubt its most valuable asset. So are you protecting it?